Welcome once again to the newest edition of 3 In, 3 Out, the most unique Seahawks podcast in the multiverse. I am your host, Clinton Bonner. Come and join me out on Twitter at Clinton Bon. I am joined, as always, by the one, the only, the great Brandon Schultz. Find him out on Twitter at SeahawkersPod. And Brandon, we are limping. We are wounded. We're possibly careening. Careening might be the word of the day here. Careening into a terrible, no good season now at 3-7. The Colt McCoy-led Cardinals carved us up, and we drop another one at Lumen Field. So as we head into
don't use that name around me. The name Colt McCoy is synonymous with nightmare fuel now for back-to-back seasons. So I challenge you. Bring up his name, not one more time after this.
Not once, not twice, but thrice, right? All right. Well, let me give a couple of macro observations as we get going that won't be in, the nooks and crannies as it were. I just want to say a few things out of the gate and maybe get a couple of reactions from you here, Brandon. So, number one, Russ was actually a lot better. Not good. I don't think yet. However, he was a lot better in my estimation. So quick, yes, no, maybe so. How'd you feel about Russ's game versus the week previous, I'd say?
Yeah, I felt especially the deep pass that probably shouldn't have been thrown to DK, but that was had
there.
A spiral on it. It landed right where it needed to, in between the two defenders. Now DK had to fight those guys off just to make sure that it wasn't picked, but good effort by him. Nice throw by Russ. Just not a throw that you really want to make.
But he's done that before. I mean, right? I mean, we've seen Malik Turner split safeties against
Tyler Lockett probably catches that, and it's a big play.
Yeah, very likely. DK had the mama dropsies. He didn't have his best game. Russ wasn't great. He missed some dudes. I mean, Gerald Everett's probably still sitting there being like, dude, I'm still open on a couple of those plays.
Still open in the end zone right now.
Yes, correct. And with that, he was still better. Russ is kind of, to me, Russ is on the path to like, maybe it's one more game, 1.5 more games, but the deep ball looked a lot better. He was better. So like, people are starting to kill him a little bit too. It's like, all right, it's, I just wanted to kind of put out there early that it not good yet, but definitely on the track to better. The other macro observation, we don't defend the middle of the field, nor do we use the middle of the field. We talk about it every single week on 3 In, 3 Out. I won't say the dude's name, but he was a poor man's Mac Jones, who was a poor man's Tom Brady. He carved us up, man. So like the middle of the field, why don't we defend it? Any just gut feelings?
Well, apparently they look at the tape and they look what teams do in the weeks leading up, and then they just assume that teams are going to do that exact same thing when they face the Seahawks, according to some of the things that Tyler's saying after the game. I have no real explanation for it, because watching, especially that first half, it was maddening. Watching you put it on the YouTube highlights, right? You get the 12-minute video, and it strings all the plays together real quickly, so you can go right through the game. But one of the things it does, it shows you just kind of the tempo that the other team is working under. You get a sense of that a lot more with that quick, the highlights there real quickly. And every time it was the dude at quarterback for the Cardinals dropping back, hitting his back foot, and then aiming at the guy over the middle who had a 5-yard cushion all the way around him. And they were just, pitch and catch all the way down the field until it was a touchdown. Well, until it was a penalty that set up a touchdown.
That true fact there. So much so, the one that really stands out is the bobbled snap where Connor's almost turning back to grab it because it's by his feet. He picks it up and can still hit Ertz in stride for the touchdown.
Are we just going to call him Connor now? Or
No, Connor. Well, James Conner turned back for the ball. Because he's noticed
you would change the name.
No, I'm not that smart. But the ball was next to Connor too, and he was like, "Ooh, should I go grab that?" But no, the QB that shall not be named, Mac Jones Light, picked it up and fires it for a touchdown still. So it was just, it's maddening. And then we don't do that. We do not used. The middle, even our stuff to the tight ends, it's all in the flats, and it
Maybe
worked
we
actually.
call him Ruger Hatfield, and then just
Ruger Hatfield. I like it. All right, so that's macro observation number 2. Number 3, I don't think we should be blaming Jamal Adams for all of our woes. There's so much shade on him, and I think a lot of it is like he didn't make the trade, right? That wasn't he didn't go make that trade, and I don't think we're 3-7 because Jamal Adams is playing bad football. I thought he was actually pretty good in this game. There were some warts there, but I don't know how you feel about Jamal at this point because he's catching a lot of shade, and I don't think it's really.
I don't necessarily have a complaint for him for this game. He had the one play that was almost a huge play, and then he had the foul at the goal line, which probably wasn't a foul because it was thrown over, and beyond, out of the reach of the catch of the tight end's catch radius. But again, Hatfield got rewarded for 2 bad throws that ultimately resulted in pass interference penalties.
Yeah, that Hatfield is he's very coy. That play you're talking about, the goal line, that was a beautiful job by Adams to read that, get over there. I still contest. I think I still want the explanation of how that is not a safety. I look at that and say the dude reaches out, he puts the ball on the ground, it springs back up, it goes back into his chest, into the end zone, he recovers in the end zone. Why no safety? Is that just
I think
forward
it's
progress?
because the ground can't cause the fumble. I think when
Yeah, but he's not down yet. If you're a receiver, right? And or like Isaiah McKenzie fumbled the kickoff that set up the Colts for one of Taylor's 5 touchdowns, right? He catches the ball, he runs, he falls, the ball pops out, right? Like he's not down. He's just so the ground can't cause the fumble, but I don't know. He's not tackled. So, and he's the one reaching out. So
the end zone's a magical place. You can catch interceptions there and then drop them, and they still count as interceptions. It's
right. And is that a wardrobe to Narnia? Like that half-yard line reach across? Is that what happens? Like you step through the coats and and then you're getting snowed on. There's little.
You wanted an explanation. I gave you my best shot. It wasn't good enough, and so now you get explanation number 2.
Yeah, you gave me something. I'm not sure it's an explanation, but that's okay. That's okay. You gave it a shot at least. So, all right. So this is 3 and 3 out. And Brandon, every single week, we know that when we don't win, we have to start with an out. However, I got something for you this week, Brandon. At 3 and 7, you know what I'm going to do on this edition of 3 and 3 out?
A special episode where you're 3 and 7 and you get to start with an in anyway?
So no, I wouldn't do that because that's just Bush League. I would never do that. I'm going to call a audible. I'm going to call a programming audible, and we are not going to do a traditional 3 in, 3 out. I've got different things I want to run through. I have 5 questions I've teed up where I want to fire them at you, get your answers, and maybe have a little volley back and forth. And 3 and 3 out be darned for the week, because who the heck wants to recap this game? I mean,
a very
special
episode this week of 3 and 3 out. They're not discussing ins nor outs.
Exactly.
How it plays out.
Yeah, there's no ins, there's no outs. I mean, I know we had that rule where maybe we would do a 6 out one. This game to me, it was worse in myriad ways than the Packers shutout. This was a worse performance in myriad ways to me. This was a game where I think you could run the gamut and go with 6 outs. I didn't want to do that. So I hope you're okay with this audible and this audible session and doing a different type of vibe.
There's got to be at least 3 ins and 3 outs when we get to From the Flock. We'll let the people in the flock cover the ins and outs for us.
Very good. Very good. And we're not ditching that section. I've got that queued up, as you know. All right. So I'm calling the Omaha. So first thing I want to know, these are the hard-hitting questions I want to know about you, Brandon Schultz. First thing I want to know is, number 1, are you on team blow it up? And if so, how do you define blow it up?
I am not on team blow it up. I am on team redemption story. I want
talk about it. Give me more.
Russell Wilson in the press conference where he's saying, this is going to be a good story. And now I don't know if the happy ending is going to come this year in terms of the story that I see brewing in Russell Wilson's mind. But I think I like the idea of this year is, well, okay, if I am team blow it up, It's blow up everything that you're doing in terms of a process for how you prepare for a game, how you prepare for an opponent, how you game plan for the offense. Because I want them to workshop the rest of the season. So that way, when they come back for next year, then they have a plan and they know what they're doing. And they have a plan of attack and an idea on offense of identity that is different from what Pete Carroll has had traditionally. And so, yeah, if I'm going to be on Team Blow It Up, it's going to be under that definition. And then you get the redemption story, and they go on to the Super Bowl. Pete Carroll, John Schneider, and Russell Wilson all hug it out on the podium as they hold up the Super Bowl trophy.
Okay, so you got the Lombardi in February of 2023, the 2022 season, with this long redemption arc. So it's not so much for you. It's not a Pete gotta go yet. You're not there yet.
I think some of Pete's philosophies have to go.
Okay. All right. I think for me, I've been thrusted strongly into, I think Pete's got to go territory. And I've been a holdout. I've been a holdout for a while there. And I'm not blaming him. I love the man. I love what he's delivered to the team. Nobody else has done that. And it's been a decade of, for the most part, greatness. It might be time though. It may be time that he moves on. We'll see. I don't know if he goes out, if he, goes gently into the night there, or if he says, no, like I'm not going anywhere. And what kind of tumult that might produce in what will be an interesting offseason. So that's an open question. All right. I have another one here, Brandon, for you. Remember, we got five on this audible. Who in your opinion has been the most disappointing Seahawk so far? We're at 3-7. By the way, these are not all negative questions, but this one I want to get out there nice and early. Who's the most disappointing Seahawk this year so far?
Most disappointing this year so far, man. One guy who I was counting on who hasn't shown up at all is Carlos Dunlap. That was a guy who we credited with the Seahawks defensive turnaround last season. And I feel like he's been MIA in terms of this year. Now, is he the most disappointing? Probably. That's who
he might be. He might. I mean, the D line's inability to really get home often. I mean, this week we had the Monet, right? So the money came through it too. Beyond that though, and also
you throw out Monet too. In terms of the money. I mean, Jamal Adams for the production versus the money, he would be up there for me. But in terms of, no production and some money, and the fact that they're not getting anything from a position that they really need somebody at. Yeah, I think I got to go Dunlap.
Dunlap's a solid choice. The dude I was thinking of while this whole audible system thing was in my brain was Jordan Brooks. And he's young. It could just be, hey, it's a sophomore thing. He's got to learn and get better. Going back to the middle of the field, just being wide open. There was this whole criticism coming out of, what was he, Texas Tech? Is that right? Did I get that right? Yeah, Texas Tech, that he couldn't cover, right? And it was like, well, wait a second. If you go back and watch his earlier tape, he was actually quite good at it. But then I think it was his senior year where they had him moving around and doing all sorts of different things. He's struggling. He is. I saw the stat line of like when they targeted him or Bobby, which is difficult because linebackers there's tons of mismatches and it happens all the time, but the stats still didn't lie. I think it was like 15 of 17 or 17 of 19. Just an incredible amount of completion percentage, just picking on Brooks. To me, he was the dude where I wasn't expecting him to just take over for KJ Wright and like just do everything KJ does so well. But I was expecting a lot more kind of bursts of amazingness from him too, where we've seen only a couple of times, like literally a handful throughout the entire year, where it was like, ooh, Brooks really stood out there. And then it's a lot of malaise and a lot of just seemingly that he's not in the right positions quite yet, doesn't really get it quite yet. And being a year and a half into his career and the fact that we're 3-7, for me, he kind of lands in that that reverse podium at this point. Anything coming up for you about Jordan?
Man, I just think that's awfully cute, Clinton, that you have like expectations for a first round draft pick. That's admirable.
That's a fun. I like this the snark. I enjoy that, and yes, I do have expectations, and I have expectations of a second round pick and a dude who's got to be on this reverse podium too. Is D. Eskridge and maybe not because of him. I mean, I can't blame the dude for getting hurt. Corbin Smith was tweeting out about the delta between the first game, which we've all captured at this point. And, I retorted with, I don't know how or why, but I'm convinced that D. Eskridge is somehow this keystone, like this thing that Waldron needed to put inside this puzzle piece to make this offense do what it was supposed to do in his brain. And without him there, it just doesn't go. It doesn't go the way he expects it to go. But now he's back, and he's what do you have, 11 snaps? Is that what you
11,
said? So I don't get it. But again, Russ being better, he was under center. There was motion. There was some play action. When we did play action, we were wildly successful. But it's like, let's not do those things a lot. Let's go back to the things that don't work. It was just very, very confusing. So
if I'm going to pick a second round pick that has me disappointed, I gotta go back a couple of years to Marquise Blair. He's a guy on defense that I had high expectations for. That again, injuries is an issue, but it's a guy that I expected big things from, and just it's never materialized.
It's a good selection too, and this could get into the John Schneider territory of the misses we have had, and unfortunately they are ample. They're not all at all swings and misses, and we'll talk about some of the surprise Seahawks in a second too. So some names might come up, but Marquise Blair is a good one because he, from that like first preseason, he just looked like a little bit of like Earl Thomas back there, a little bit of that like wild side. He would just come off the screen and just attack the ball and dart at the ball with incredible aggressiveness. And he just hasn't been very good so far. Plus, 2 years in a row now he's dinged, which is kind of tragic. So, all right, let's quickly bounce. Let's quickly bounce here, Brandon. Why don't we go into who's your biggest upside surprise Seahawk so far this year? 3-7, but it's not all teardrops here. It's not all garlic and onions here. It's there's some good things happening. Who's your biggest surprise?
It's garlic and onions when I think about the guy that I would have had the answer for here being Trey Brown, and now that he's out for the season. Yeah, thanks for bringing this one up.
Yeah. This Trey Brown's my choice too, right? And it is such a bummer, that he's now lost to the season. But I mean, why don't you go on about what you've seen, and why it kind of gets you hopeful for hopefully that 2023 raising a Lombardi, as you just called out before.
Oh, are we still talking about Trey Brown then? Just because the physicality, I mean, he had his moment to cover AJ Green, who, he's lost a little bit of a step, but I felt like a rookie going up against a veteran like that, this would be his opportunity to kind of prove to himself that, and I got the sense that he knew that he had proven himself, but this was really an opportunity to cover a guy that, listening to him leading up to this game, that, he kind of sees AJ Green, as the veteran type of guy that he was looking forward to going against. And then he has the opportunity, and then to get injured doing it, man, I feel so bad for the guy. And I sure hope that whatever comeback that he can do, he can do it in a way that brings him back to the level that we saw him play these last couple of games at.
This was the biggest gut punch for me. Like 3-7 is bad. And obviously just whatever, that's obvious. The biggest gut punch for me this last game, and I think of the season so far, was losing Trey Brown the way we did. And in the game too, you called that earlier. He gets flagged for a PI at the half-yard line. I don't understand what the refs are looking at there. And it's not just Seattle. Like every game you go watch, there are egregious, horrible PI penalties called, and it was just another one. He And then you got Jonathan Vilma in the booth being like, "Oh, that's an obvious flag. He didn't get his head around." It's like, dude,
It was an underthrown pass.
Hey,
They're rewarding Hatfield for a bad throw.
And he did get his head around. He turned and tried to play the ball.
It was a little late. It was a little bit late.
But he has a right to go for the thing. I mean, basically the rule with that is like, you can't face guard. If you eat, it's like, you know, it's like if you're, I mean, I despise people who can't use their blinkers in their car, because like literally you're almost touching it with your left hand the entire time. So use your friggin' blinker, people. But it's almost like, you know, you see a cop at the last second and you're 3/4 of the way through the turn. So you throw the blinker on. Even if you do that, you're not going to get face guarding, because you made the attempt to get around. So late, or, you know, a little late this way or that way, it's the attempt. Did you try to get around? Did you start to get around? He obviously did. It's a horribly thrown, you know, underthrown ball, and he has a right to try to go pursue the ball. It's maddening. And then the way he hurt his knee, that kind of like weird buckle on another bad pass. That's not a good pass. If that's a good pass in stride, Trey Brown doesn't have to, like, you know, break it down and try to limbo and like buckle his knee the way he did. So right. I feel for the young dude. Freaking would you call him Hatfield, right? Oh, gotcha. Now I get it. Now I understand. Oh, I get what you did there. Very nice. But Hatfield, underthrown the friggin' ball, needs to do better. So anyway, that to me was also, he's the biggest upside and now the biggest gut punch, because I'm going to miss watching that guy play. Even if we didn't win another game this year, the joy of watching him play cornerback and grow, that was fun. And what he was doing with Jamal out there, and like the friendship that you could see was kind of growing, it's going to be sorely missed, man. So, all right. So I got a few more.
Well, just before we go on,
please
tell you, I cannot come up with another single guy even to list that we have to go with a guy who just got hurt. I
kind of a problem,
Gerald
right?
Everett. Okay. Maybe if you pushed me, I could say Gerald Everett.
Yes. I mean, well, you know, I think we talked about Quandre Diggs a couple of weeks ago, and Quandre Diggs has been a steady Eddie. He's just been good. He's just been,
and that's it. He's just been good.
He's got three INTs, and he's not getting burnt over the top, right? It's not like we're getting no one's mossing us.
Okay, but again, he's a guy who's meeting my expectations. He's
exactly. Hey, but that's why we're 3-7, right? that's why we're 3-7. You know, it's not like we could be like, oh yeah, Michael Dixon has put the ball on the 2-yard line 17 times this year, and he's surprised. You know, it's like, no, it's like, it hasn't been that. So you're right. Gerald Everett might be that next dude. And then it's like, well, the guy's got to get his touches. And when he does get his touches, he's clearly a very, very capable tight end. But we spent half a year without really feeding him the ball. So, you know, again, back to Shane the Main Brain. Very, very interesting. Yeah. So I did just mention Quandre Diggs. So if you remember earlier in the year when the defense was really struggling, and by the way, the defense really struggled this game too, like quite a bit, but early in the year when the defense was really, really the culprit, they would ask Quandre Diggs about certain things. He's like, I don't know. Like, I'm basically saying, like, I'm doing my job. You know, like, look, at that point, it was the Trey Flowers. He's like, dude, I got it. He's like, I'm Batman in Gotham. My city's under control. These other metropolises, I can't speak for them. So you got Diggs on one side of the ball. You mentioned Lockett earlier. Lockett's been chirpy. Lockett's been vocal after games, being like, yeah, it's kind of coaching. And the way Diggs was framing things up was, yeah, it's kind of coaching, you know, and maybe talent level as well. My question for you is, they've both been rather vocal. These are dudes who are more expensive on our team resources, and coming up on a year where you either extend them or potentially move on from these dudes. Do you think, whatever our end record is, do you think either of those dudes, both those dudes, or 1-1 are a Seahawk when it comes to next year?
If I had to pick, I would go Lockett's a Seahawk next year and Diggs is not. And I think it's more of, well, Diggs being in the last year of his contract, it's probably more of the reason why I'm leaning the way I am. But I think that they need Tyler, and they need his ability on offense. Whereas I think there are, you know, with Ryan Neal, with Marquise Blair, I think that they could find somebody that that can take over for Diggs. I don't know the dynamic within the locker room. It's tough to know, the persona that we see at the podium in front of the media, if that plays into some of the locker room dynamic or not. I don't get the sense that as much as people are making out this Tyler Lockett stuff that he was saying as a shot at the coaches, I didn't necessarily see that, because he talked about agreeing with Pete in many ways, and then it was more of there is a coaching issue there that he's referring to, in the sense that if they're preparing for a game, expecting to see what other teams have done, and just thinking that that's automatically how they're going to play this team, and not looking at it historically and saying, well, what is it that we don't do well, and what our defense is going to do to try and put pressure on our offense. If they're not seeing that, then that's absolutely a coaching problem too. And I don't know, that there has to be some recognition there to change the way they operate so they can fix that part of it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think that's good analysis too, that it's maybe avoid the hyperbole train. Maybe it's not Lockett chirping so much versus just trying to give a thoughtful answer. And back to, hey, we're just going to look at what a team does historically. And it's like with Kingsbury there, a lot of their game has typically been, the bubble screen stuff, and this year, whether that's to Moore, who had 11 catches, I think, this week, but there's no D-Hop. And they just didn't do any of that. Even the stuff to Moore, for the most part, it was still so much of the game was like in between the hashes and like right in the middle of the field. And if you watch the
Cardinals, up a guy with 5 yards of padding all around him, and I wonder where the football is going to go.
Yep.
And I think that's why a guy like Diggs could be frustrated, because I'm the guy that has to play the free safety role. That's I can't be the guy to be on that guy, because it's just not my role. Yeah. So why are they not scheming it up so that, yes, you have your zone, but when a guy comes out of the backfield and is, it's just so clear when you go back and you watch it that that's where the ball is going to go. They send everybody deep, they leak a guy out, and he has all this room. That's where they're going to go with the football. It was
on repeat, and it was so easy. And when you said earlier, hey, the defense was really, really bad in the first half, but not so much the second half, kind of paraphrasing there. I say, I hear that. However, when we got within 3, right, that's what we got to with him with the touchdown, then we give up that touchdown drive. Like, they just shred us. It's the, and I don't know how you felt. We finally get the touchdown while DJ walks into the end zone. We put together a good drive. I did not have a bone or two in my body being like, we're going to stop friggin' the Hatfield led Cardinals. I didn't think we were going to get a stop. I was like, they're going to march this ball down, eat clock, and either get 3 with nothing left, or they're going to score. They'll just find a way to score. I just don't know how you felt after we cut the lead to 3. Were you feeling, hey, we're going to get the stop that we've been kind of lacking?
I was trying to be optimistic. Yeah. But
yeah,
realistically, just because the way the defense had played throughout that season or throughout that game, I mean, what they didn't do was they had their opportunities and they missed field goals. So
yeah, correct.
You had the one at the end of the second quarter, and then they had another long drive where they got inside the red zone and missed a field goal again. So yeah, this probably should have been more of a blowout than a close game.
I agree. So yeah, I always try to remain optimistic that we'll get the play. Oh, I don't know. We'll get a Sidney Jones interception that seemingly is an interception every other week, and we'll get the ball, whatever, the 11-yard line or wherever he stepped out. But no, that's not this week. This week, I guess the end zone for that one, Brandon. I guess the end zone, the magic zone where rules don't exist, just shifted a little bit randomly for that play. And maybe it's the right call, but I've seen the same play where the dude has it, the ball touches the ground and it doesn't jostle, still called a reception or interception or possession. So that was another. This game was a bunch of gut punches, is what it boils down to. It was a bunch of gut punches.
It's weird when you feel like you catch a break because a guy has his knees down with his hands on the ball, but then loses the ball as he's gone out of the end zone. And yes, it's not a catch, but you feel like it's a break because of so many breaks that just go against you so many other times. That's where we're at.
Yeah, that's and again, that's what 3-7 feels like. And it's been a while. It's been a while. And looking back, I could be historic, I could be nostalgic, I could be thankful. It is Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday. I could be thankful for this decade of really good football. And of course, even beyond that, the Hasselback Holmgren era, it's been a good era of Seahawks football. I hope it's not blow it up territory. So that would lead me to my last question for this audible 3 in, 3 out for this week. Would you rather? This is a little binary here. Would you rather go 4-13 or 8-9?
8-9.
Why?
Screw the Jets. I do not want them to have a top 5 pick.
Okay. All right. But let's say, okay, I hear you. However, let's say it's the 3rd pick overall that the Jets receive, right? Yeah. Cool. Can we use the 35th pick overall?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's fine. But the
35th pick overall is basically a first rounder. You don't get the 5-year option, of course, but you also don't got to pay that much money for the bonus for a first rounder. I mean, I don't know,
like 3rd or 4th rounder guy with talent wise at that spot anyway.
That's true. Yeah, we'll take a dude at 35. They're like,
at 45 instead of 35. You know how it goes.
Yes. Well, we pass on Nick Chubb, we pass on Jonathan Taylor, the whole thing already, right? So
I mean, I guess if you're saying you're 4-13, it's more of the team blow it up wants 4-13 to really make it obvious, I suppose.
Good point. If you're 4-13, just sorry to cut you off, but I think there's did we see anybody quit yet? I can make an argument the very last play, that last touchdown where Connor walks it in, Jamal Adams certainly didn't want to tackle him. He just kind of olays him. It is at the half-yard line. I think it was what's his face, Softy, who blew that up and said, this is outrageous. You can't, paying you all this money. You gotta at least try to lay a lick on this guy. I can't argue with that analysis, but you're right. If it's 4-13, I think at that point, it means the team quit along the way, which might be curtains.
That's where it would lead me for sure. And since I am team blow it up in terms of philosophy, but not in terms of personnel, then I think that the 8-9 way to go is it's the one where you have more hope for the offseason and the following year.
I hope so. I hope you're correct. I'm torn on that one. I kind of think we need the draft capital with this team at this point, but we shall see. So I thought it'd be fun.
Good games. I want to see winning football for the rest.
I understand. Doesn't mean
I always prefer wins over losses. It's better to win than lose.
I agree. I'm with you, and I wish well, that's it. I'm with you. I am with you on that. And hey, there's nothing saying we can't go on an epic run and still make the playoffs. I mean, there's lots of things saying that, but there's nothing saying that it's not a possibility, right?
It is a possibility. It is. I give it about a 3% chance.
Yeah, it might be that at this point. This is one of those where it's like the ESPN machine says 6%. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure, because, and then you look, it's like, all right, well, you know what? The Washington football team, well, they're playing better. Like you look at the Niners, like, all right, well, the Niners are playing better. I know we quote unquote own the Niners. They're playing better, right? The Texans have gotten some wins. This is like, oh boy, like, you could see.
Yeah, when 2 weeks ago we were looking at all the bad teams as easy wins, and now we're going, ooh.
Yeah, we might not win this Monday night versus the WFT. I'd say it's less than flip a coin. Seahawks win that game at this point. Just the way we're playing, they just came off of two nice W's. It's Monday night primetime in their place. They have way more momentum than we do.
Heineke, I know he can hit checkdowns with guys that have 5 yards of padding around him. So that has me concerned.
You're a smart man, and you raise a great point, because there's not that much difference between Hatfield and Heineke. There's not that much difference. Heineke is a more of an escape artist, and unfortunately, we saw Hatfield get out of 3 or 4 Houdini style tricks where we thought we had sacks on him, which was just insane.
I didn't expect to see us lined up across from Lamar Jackson in this
No,
game, but
no kidding.
we saw some Lamar Jackson type plays.
Unreal. Okay, so that was a different type of 3 in 3 out. We do hope you enjoyed the audible to go through what I thought would be some more fun questions of debate to go into these 5 questions. Just to put a wrinkle in here, because at 3 and 7, that's the thing. Sometimes you got to call a trick play. At 3 and 7, sometimes you got to go for it on 4th and 7 from your own 37-yard line. You got to do these things sometimes. So that's what I was feeling. I'm glad you were able to just vibe along with it and roll with it, because you didn't know what was coming. However, one thing we will not get rid of is, of course, From the Flock. So Brandon, why don't you tell the good people of Earth, how can they get involved with the podcast and everything that you that you do on a week in, week out basis?
You can become a member of the flock at getintheflock.com or patreon.com/flock. It is the flock, Clinton, that will tell us if this audible that we ran resulted in a touchdown or a check down to a tight end that immediately gets tackled for a 6-yard loss.
Yes, I have a feeling it may be the latter, but we shall see. It's all good. It's all good. So, like I said, you gotta try. You gotta put the flea flicker to the tight end for a loss of 7 into the playbook every now and again. So let us march on over to From the Flock. I'll kick things off here. We have Bailey Liborn out on Twitter at Bailey Liborn, and we have in the field goal drive in the second, talking about the intermediate crossing route to Lockett, where he kind of breaks open down the sideline. And by the way, if you remember this play, I was starting to do the stand up on the couch, because I didn't think there was another safety back there. I just thought Lockett was about to go, and then he steps out of bounds. And then I was like, oh, why did he step out of bounds? And then there was still one more dude to beat that he probably was not going to beat 1-to-1, but beautifully drawn up play. And it was like one of those things where it's like, okay, some of this stuff is popping, but we have no flow and we don't have consistency.
Yeah, and you have to wonder too if that ball gets there a little bit sooner, if
Correct.
Lockett's then able to turn up the field a little bit easier without the momentum kind of carrying him out of bounds. But
great point.
Chris Farnsworth comes in via Twitter at Chris Farnswar14, and he says Ruger Hatfield. Chris, I like that you had the foresight to use the quarterback's alternate name in your tweet. 31 for 37 with 3 drops, out to our defensive game plan. Also comes in and says, out our offensive line's ability to block Chandler Jones.
Yeah. So, I mean, Chris in one fell swoop here, puts it, that's it. Right. I mean, basically saying Hatfield's 34, 37 with the drops. They're mostly over the middle dinks and dunks. And the one thing we asked for in Seahawks, what if we were like, if we could keep a clean sheet versus Chandler Jones, I got to tell you, the sheets were anything but clean versus Chandler friggin' Jones, man. We had a messy sheet, and I'm going to keep it right there. I'll keep it clean, because it was a disgusting effort versus a dude who always gets sacks against us, man. All right, we're marching on here. So we got Chris Boucher in the Seahawkers pod Ring of Honor. He hashtags it 3i30. He goes out, 3rd and long, running back dive. This is that 3rd and 20 play where we take a big sack and we all know it's coming and we don't want it to come. And we're like, you know what? Just maybe try to go get 15 yards, go get 12 yards, get into a 4th and 7 at midfield, get into a 4th and 5. But no, we do a little, dive to Travis Homer. We all know it's coming. He gets basically nothing, and we're punting right near midfield again. And it's just so freaking disappointing. You are allowed to throw the ball on 3rd and 20. You can try to convert on 3rd and 20. You don't have to just hand the damn ball off and punt the ball away. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Throw a ball toward the end zone, underthrow it, and so the guy has to go over the top of the defender and draw a flag. That's what you do in that situation. And this is, if I'm going to put start building the pile that I'm blowing up in terms of philosophy.
Yeah.
I think this play might be at the center of that pile. That one and the fade pass to DK in the end zone like that. But that one doesn't go in the center, but it's within the blast radius.
It's a piece of crinkled paper that's just helping to spur the fire on a bit, because you crinkle it, you twist it. But yeah, that's there's a couple things there, Brandon, that I could keep going on about, but we've got more from the flock, so keep on rocking.
Well, Bubble Guts, I think, has my other aspect to this, with the end being a healthy dose of booing, which might be more motivational than any hyped up coach speech. The boos rained down on that 3rd and 20 give up play. And yes, Pete Carroll needs to know, just like he had to make it known when he threw a flag to challenge a play on a spot call on, what was it, 4th and 1, like just to yell at the official. It was, I just wanted the fans to boo Pete in that situation, to let him know that that decision to give up on 3rd and 20 was the wrong one.
Yeah. So just like the challenge was, I mean, the moment the red flag comes out, we're sitting in the Discord and we're just like, everybody's just like, what, why? Like we in real time, we could all see it. I think it was Connor. It's like, all right, it's fairly close, but Connor clearly got at least a half yard more than where he had to be. And the challenge flag, it's like, what do we, Pete, what are you doing? So anyway, we're moseying on. This one will help. B-Wags Biceps in the Discord says, in, alcohol, out, everything else. On this Sunday, maybe not a bad game plan there, B-Wags.
Yeah, so we got 2 of our ins being booing Pete Carroll and alcohol.
Yep. We're 3-7 when, right?
And another in to B-Wags Biceps, into Christian Kirk doing a great job on run defense. Yes, tackling Connor in the backfield to help get a stop. Nice work by Christian Kirk, helping out our Seahawks defense.
Yeah, somebody's got to do it there, right? So I'm going to hop over to Hong Kong Hawk. Sometimes he closes things out for us, but we're audibling all day today. So Hong Kong Hawk in the Discord says, not going to be a fun offseason. No first-round draft pick, relentless Russell nonsense, and worst of all, Pete will surely not fire himself. He triple stamps it, out. That's thrice outs.
Designed Pete's Beach House comes in with a reel in for Collins, trucking through as much as he possibly can. Great heart.
Another disappointing thing that Collins got, whatever amount, just in total, we ran the ball 16 times again. Like that's, it's, and there's another team in the NFL who has found an identity with a young quarterback who himself runs the ball a lot. Don't know if I'm dropping enough breadcrumbs for you there, Brandon, but you picking up what I'm putting down?
I think so, but why don't you go ahead and say it?
Okay. The Philadelphia Eagles have become a competent and potentially a pretty decent football team by establishing the run and running the heck out of the football. I just 10 years on with Russ now, where he's still kind of hurt, and we have this philosophy where we want to run the football. Well, then why don't we run the football? It's just again. I'm gonna tamper down my negativity for the rest of this, so we can close out in some fun fashion. I'll hop to Josh Tehuman. I say fun fashion, but it's an out. He goes out. He goes, me not being at the game because the last game I was at was the Jags. So basically, Josh is saying, send me to the games at Lumen Field. I will guarantee you victories. Josh, we need a GoFundMe for you, bud.
We might just have to make sure Josh is there for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Design Pete's Beach House. Another out, drops over and over and over. Hey, maybe if you weren't running, maybe if you were running the ball there, you wouldn't have to worry about the wide receiver drops.
Yeah. It was a sloppy game. The Will Dissly drop was, again, we talked about, it was gut punches across. It's like football to the groin, mole man style all day long, but without Homer Simpson laughing in the theater. It was just football to the groin. And when Will Dissly turned upfield before he caught the ball, and then it made it 3rd down and long, it was just like, oh man, you can't drop things right in your breadbasket. However, at 3-7, Brandon, it kind of feels like the Seahawks have dropped the whole darn thing right in their breadbasket this year.
It feels that way, but oh man, Russell, he has the thought in mind that it's going to end well somehow, and so I can't wait to see what our quarterback has in store for us.
Well, it's got to start if it's gonna, if there's gonna be a story, story book ending here, then it's got to start Monday. He likes the bright lights. I think we've been a better road team than we have been an away team for probably 2 seasons now. We're going off to play the WFT. Hey, I'm not averse to this idea of this magical mystery tour where we get back in this thing. I can be fooled again. I'm okay. I am 100% in, where it's like 3 weeks from now, we're like, oh boy, we still got a shot. We rattle off 3 in a row somehow, 2 in a row, and we start to get that feeling back that we could do it. I'm in for that. I will be fool me one more time. I'm fine with that. Hurt me, Seahawks. I want to be hurt one more time this season because I don't want to be apathetic about the rest of the year. So hurt me one more time and go get a freaking W this Monday night and just get me back believing.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.